Wow, does time fly. Here we are now, just 7 days away from the start of the Nugget Shooter outing. Actually, 6 days. It starts on Friday, but we usually have people showing up by, oh man, probably by Tuesday or Wednesday. Folks will start showing up out there and setting up camp. And this is my final video on the outing for this year, and I'd sure like to see some of you folks show up. We do this every year, and it's always in November. And there's a reason for it's always in November. We tied a couple in December years ago. I think we've been doing this almost 20 years. But years ago, we tried a couple in December and other times of the winter season. Well, it rained a couple of them, and boy, did it rain hard. And we've only had one ever canceled because of rain, but we had to cancel that one. And it was raining all day, all night. Everything leaked. Everything was wet. We had trouble getting the dinner together. And I think John B. brought steaks that year. And we all had T-bone steaks and tried to in the rain. Most of them got them rare whether they liked it or not. And the next day we were out hunting with garbage bags over the top of our detectors to keep them from getting too wet. And now, of course, detectors are a lot more water resistant than they used to be in many cases. These outings are a lot of fun, okay? And it's not intended to promise you're going to find any huge amounts of gold. There's good gold in the area here, and there's a lot of small gold in the area here, so it's good for VLF detectors. We've got GPAA claims, we have Roadrunner claims, we have AMRA, American Mining Rights Association claims. We have several other small clubs that have claims in the area. And a lot of the folks at this outing are going to be members of those clubs. And as a result, there's a good chance if you're not a club member, you can get someone to take you out for a hunt with them on a club claim. And there's also some open ground out here. It's just not a lot of it, and you have to be a little bit savvy to be able to locate it. There's been some big nuggets found out here. The biggest that I know of that was found with a metal detector was back in 2000, I'm going to say 4 or 5. Good friend of mine, Jim Boxberger, bought a GP 3000 off of me. And it was right toward the end of the season. I guess it was probably in March. And they're from Colorado, and they aren't much on the Arizona heat. So come late March, early April, they head back. And they're getting ready to go back home the next weekend. And Jimmy asked me to give him a pointy finger of a spot to go hunt. And I did. And he hadn't found a nugget with that machine yet. And I sent him up to a little spot I know up by a mine here. And he got a little confused on the directions on his way up there. And he took a left instead of a right. And didn't like that area, so he went back to up ahead farther and took another right and ended up in a little wash and ran into a waterfall as he was driving. Couldn't go any farther, so he turned around. He was just going to give up for the day, and he saw a little wash coming down off the side of a hill with a bunch of old-timers solder dot cans laying around an old campfire ring and stuff. Now, these solder dot cans are interesting because that solder dot was used to seal the can after they heated it and got all the oxygen out. And kind of like canning in a canning jar now. And they'd put a dot of solder on there so that it sealed. And the cans would seal, but as a result, a little bit of lead got into each can. And in the 1920s or around 1921, sometime after the First World War, they figured out that, or maybe it was before, I don't know, but they figured out that lead was poison. So they quit making those cans. So if you see those cans out in the field, you can rest pretty assured that they're before 1921, which shows it was worked a long time ago. So anyway, Jimmy goes up this wash. And he said he found nothing but trash about halfway up the wash. And he ran into a big chunk of tin that they had been using to slide material down to the dry washer. So he figures, well, if he gets up above that tin, there'll be less trash. And there was less trash. And he's going along in the wash, and he gets this huge booming signal. And he's already been digging cans and stuff, so he figures it's just another can. So he reaches down with his foot and he gives it a kick. And it didn't move. And he looked down there and he could see gold. Yeah, standing up. So he bent over and tried to pick it up and it wouldn't move. And he brushed a little bit of the dirt off and he couldn't believe it. It was a huge piece of gold laying there, stuck in a crack in the wash. All right, now I don't know the exact story from there, but he said he sat down on the edge of the bank and he'd smoked his cigar a little bit and brushed a little more dirt away from that so he didn't have a heart attack. And he finally got it cleared around the area and pried it out of the crack it was in, and it was a chunk about yay big. And I believe it had 1.57 pounds of gold, troy pounds of gold in that specimen, and the specimen weighed something like 2.5 pounds. And he was flabbergasted, and I was at home, and he was staying in the trailer court that I managed in my property management job. And Jimmy and his wife Vicky come up to my door, and they knocked on the door, and I went to the door, and they were visibly shaken. I mean, visibly shaken. And Jimmy's got this Crown Royal bag in his hand. He's holding it like this with two hands. And I looked at him, and I looked in his eyes. I said, "You didn't." He said, I said, "You didn't." He said, "Yes, I did." And he's holding out this Crown Royal bag to me. He's still with two hands. I mean, he could have held it by the string or something. I guess he was afraid it'd rip through the bottom. And I said, "You didn't," one more time. He looks at me, he goes, "Just take the frickin' thing." I said, "What?" Okay, so he handed it to me. You're never prepared for something that big to weigh as much as that did. And that thing hit my hand, and I just went like this, and my eyes got wide open. I opened that bag up, and here was this ugly red stringed quartz with all this gold just all through it. Just beautiful gold, just all through this rock. And I'll cut in here, right here. That's what it looked like. I couldn't believe it. I said, "Where did you get this, Jim? Out of that wash I told you?" He goes, "No, I got lost." He goes, "I couldn't find that wash." He goes, "I went up another wash below the mine." And he said he found another little wash on the side, and that's where the story I just told you came from. So anyway, Jimmy goes, "Can you skip work tomorrow?" I said, "I sure can." And he came by the next morning, and we went up there. And he went up to where he got that big nugget and showed it to me. And it's a specimen, I guess you'd call it. And he showed me where he got it. He goes, "You hunt below, I'll go up above." I said, "You sure?" I said, "I'd go below if I were you." And he goes, "Nah, you go ahead." I didn't take 15 steps, and I swung my coil in the wash. There's nothing, but I always swing up the edge of a wash, my friend. There's something to always remember. And a lot of the bigger stuff, it depends on when it was in the water flow. Okay, well, I went up the bank of that wash about 2 feet and got a screaming signal. And I figured it was junk. So I reached my pickup there and dug it out of there. Out rolls a nugget. Boom, lands in the bottom of the wash. And I go, "Good Lord." And it's a big piece, man. It was, I don't know, it weighed, I guess, 3/4 of an ounce or so. Real nice piece of gold. And I proceeded to dig 4 or 5 more right out of that bank. And that was it, out of the bank. And we got a lot of gold out of that wash and those banks later on, too. And actually, I'd done a couple videos of me digging material up in that wash and finding gold. But anyway, there's big gold at San Domingo, okay? And if there's one nugget like that, there's a lot more. I've learned that. And that whole area up there, there's like 20 square miles of placer area for folks to hunt. And you just got to be careful about getting on somebody else's claim. As far as access goes, there's good access. I mean, we've got, you can get a motorhome in there. Tammy and I have a 1987 Itasca Sunflower that we just picked up for almost nothing, and we've been putting it together, and really nice guy I got it from. And we're getting it together for our mobile base camp, but we're going to have it out there, and you can get a fifth wheel out there behind a truck. You can get a tent, from a tent on up to a motorhome. And big flat area to park in as long as it's not wet. If it gets wet out there, it's not a good idea. It's pretty snotty red clay like wet material is not good to drive in. But we don't get rain this time of year very often, so it should be really nice next week. And computer went off. And access is good. And I don't know, if you go up there early, like Wednesday or Thursday, there'll be some of the early birds up there to BS with and hang out with a little bit. Friday afternoon, Debbie from Mine Lab will be there, and we'll be introducing her around a little bit and stuff, and talking and kind of sitting around the campfire, and everybody's pretty much on their own. People go out hunting during the day, and I don't get to do much hunting because I'm socializing. And then Saturday's the big day. Saturday, Mine Lab's going to be showing off the new Vanquish, and there's 3 detectors in that series, and they're basically coin relic detectors. And they have some pretty cool technology inside them. Mine Lab's pretty well known for game changers, and well, I don't know, I'm not surprised they've come up with another one. I'll let Debbie tell the rest if you want to make this outing. It's kind of going to be a kind of a private thing for the folks at the outing. We'll try to get some of it on film for you. And then we're also going to give away a gold monster, I think. I'm pretty sure on that. And we have a potluck dinner. I'm supplying pulled pork, barbecued and not barbecued. We got other people bringing in meat. There'll be burgers, hot dogs, stuff like that. But we expect you guys all to bring a dish too. So everybody brings a dish. It can be anything from pumpkin pie to beans, to whatever's your favorite. And we set up a big table, and we all get in line and go along there and get our food. And after we eat, we're going to talk a little bit more with Deb and me, and we're going to do the giveaway. And we give quite a few goodies away. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Now, there's no booths. There's no sales out here. There's nothing like that going on. And also, we're on Arizona State Trust land. And you can go online just by searching Google for Arizona State Trust Land Permit. And you can find the permit. You can download it and print it out at home. And it's $15 for one person and $20 for a family. It's good for a year. And you need that to park on state trust land in Arizona anywhere. So if you're going to be hunting in Arizona or fooling around or just hiking or camping, it's a good idea to get it one anyway. And once you get that permit, you're good to go. And there's no fee to come out to what we're doing. This is not an organized event. We're just kind of a bunch of folks hanging out, having a lot of fun, and we're going to look at some new metal detectors and stuff. No, you won't be able to buy a Vanquish there. They're not for sale yet. And but you're going to get to see one. That's cool. And then Saturday, during the day, pretty much everybody goes out and hunt. We do some free training for folks that need some help with machines and sit around and talk. Like I said, it's a whole lot of fun. It really is. And we're going to do some training on the Gold Monster too, I believe. And Sunday, everybody kind of breaks up and goes home. If you're going to be in a tent or a small trailer or something, we will have a porta potty on the property out there for you to use. We prefer you don't dig holes and have toilet paper blowing all around the state trust land out there. It tends to upset people. There will be other people out there. It's kind of a dirt bike area and quad area, so there'll be quite a few people out there. Four-wheel drive is required to get to some of the more remote areas. A good high clearance two-wheel drive will get you into most of the areas that are close by. And like I said, you can hitch up with somebody else that's hunting. You're going to meet a lot of good people here. YouTube creators, you're welcome. If you want to come and film some of this and see what we do out here when we have an outing. We don't do a planned hunt of any kind. Everybody's just kind of on their own. They go out and hunt. It's mostly about information and education and learning how to properly use our public lands. And a lot of places back east and stuff, there isn't a lot of public land. Out here in Arizona, we have miles and miles and miles of BLM land. And we're just very fortunate that way. And then we have state trust land. Now, you're not prospecting on state trust land without several hoops to jump through, and they've got some different requirements in a bond. But it can be prospected if you do it correctly. I don't know, not much else to say about it. As I've covered getting in there, you can go to my website. Okay, at the beginning of this video, there's some little tags that pop up in the corner with my website. nuggetshooter.com, and you click on the forum tab and go to the forum. And in the Gold Nugget Hunting Forum, at the top of the page is 3 posts. All of them are related to the outing. We have a head count so I can make sure I cook enough meat. We have directions and location and pictures from Google Earth of the actual camp area. And just about anything else you need to know. There's a whole history on the area that's a real interesting read. So get your butts over to the forums, and I really hope to see a lot of you there. This is going to be a lot of fun, my friends. We've been doing them for years, and I've never really heard anybody say they didn't have fun at one. But like I said, there's no gold tours going on, none of that sort of thing. And there's a long story behind that. If you get me cornered at the outing, I'll explain why we don't advertise or do that. It's basically not legal to do without a permit and an outfitter's license and a bunch of other things here because you're on public land. All right, that's a long story on that. Everything now that you do out on public land that involves taking other people with you requires some permits and insurance and things like that. It's crazy how the world is these days. Somebody falls off their horse, they can sue you if you were looking. Kind of funny. So anyway, hope to see you all there. And if you like these videos and you like hanging out with us and learning how to find gold, like, subscribe, and ring that little bell icon down in the corner there so you don't miss anything. And for now, it's Nugget Shooter out till the outing, my friends. I'll be putting up another video probably after the outing. I don't know if I'll get to one during it. I'm pretty busy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. See you there.